So for a couple weeks, we've been monitoring a single lone swan on the Des Moines River near Saylorville. It's hard to say what is going on with the swan. However, we have had a lot of cases of lead poisoning in the last few weeks. So based on some of the symptoms that they are exhibiting, isolation, being alone, sometimes shaking the head, just looking a little weak, a little bit more lethargic, not swimming around as much and not attempting to fly, those are all indications that that swan might have some lead poisoning. We attempted last week to rescue one swan that we had seen on the river. Once we approached it with a kayak, it did fly off, and it flew pretty well, so we were not able to catch it. We were contacted about another lone swan on a separate pond just east of the river, and so this was the swan that we attempted to catch yesterday. It's difficult if they can fly. A bird can still be weak, but when you start to go after them, they think that you are a predator. So they are going to make every attempt to fly away from you, and that's what this guy did. So we'll keep trying to monitor him, see if he gets weaker or maybe he'll improve. At this point, he looks like he's swimming a little bit better. He is getting around a little bit more, and so we'll just have to keep monitoring to see what we can do for him. We took in 6 swans from Little Wall Lake, and then we've gotten another one from Clark County, Wright County. Yesterday we received one who died yesterday morning. It was retrieved alive from Lakeview area, but he died yesterday before he could get into our care. People are asking, why are there so many swan issues right now? There's a couple reasons. I think that it's multi-factor. One, we've had a drought. Our lake levels and our river levels are lower than normal. 2, the swan population is actually doing better here in Iowa. We also had kind of a mild winter. It didn't get as cold as it normally does. There was a lot more swans that just stayed in Iowa for the winter rather than going a little bit farther south. And then we had 2 really cold weeks, which once they get the lead in their system, it's a lot harder for them to regulate their body temp. So when we had those 2 cold weeks, I think just in combination with them not feeling well from the lead poisoning and then being really cold, they were probably already starting to starve a little bit, have muscle weakness. So it just contributed to, a lot of things contributed to them being very ill. And so I think that's kind of what happened this year. Will it continue to happen? Possibly. Lead is in the environment. We have decades of fishing gear, waterfowl hunting from years ago. Waterfowl hunting with lead ammunition was banned in 1991, but prior to that, if anything landed in a lake or a river, it's just sitting at the bottom of that lake now. And lead has a very long life. Swans in particular are big birds and they have very long necks. So Little Wall Lake was 30 inches lower than it normally is. And then they had about 124 swans observed there in early January. And I think that in combination with their long necks and a history of that lake being heavily hunted, waterfowl hunting, it just made for, a perfect storm, really. So that's why I think that we saw so many cases this year with swans and lead poisoning. For instance, with the swans that we just cared for, we didn't have the right medical facilities here or the or a veterinarian with the experience to treat the swans. So we ended up taking the swans to the Nebraska Wildlife Rehab Center in Omaha, and they were able to help us with getting everyone x-rayed, getting all the blood work done, and doing something called lavage, which they were able to, on x-ray we found that all the swans had lead stuck in their gizzard. So you can actually flush the gizzard with water and try to, flush that lead out. And so we were successful on 3 of the swans, 3 of the 4 that we had taken to them. One died shortly after, just due to lead poisoning. The second one, we did lavage, but unfortunately he was so weak, he didn't really recover from the anesthesia very well. And then the other 2 are still with us and doing better. We don't want to have to take our wildlife to other states to get treated. We just want to be able to do that here. And we want to have, our vets are wonderful here, but a lot of vets are not trained for wildlife. And a lot of vets are not trained for wild birds. Birds are a whole nother, animal, and they, not everyone's comfortable with working with birds. So we do have an amazing vet here who helps us, but it's a private clinic and they can't always take in, a large number of birds at once. And so that's why we ended up going to Nebraska for the 4 swans. People always ask us, why is this important? And there's a lot of reasons I think that wildlife rehab is important. One reason is we're here for the community. So last year we took in almost 2,000 birds from over 1,500 different people. So that meant 1,500 people called us, contacted us, and brought us a bird. A bird needed help, or a bird's nest, or is a bird behaving normally, or should they intervene, or when should they intervene? So not only do we take in birds from the public, but we answer and educate a lot of people. And the community has really started to turn to us for those questions. Social media has been great. It's also brought us a lot more birds and questions, which is great. I'm glad people know about us, but it is also very time consuming for us as an organization. So we're hoping to grow our volunteer base as well, so we have volunteers that can just answer those questions and really help people when needed. We also are a great place for volunteers, so our volunteers love coming here. I think that we provide a really meaningful place for people to come enjoy wildlife from a different view, but that know that they're also helping wildlife get back into the wild. As a rehab center, that is our goal. So we're not set up to keep birds long term. Our caging is smaller because our goal is to have that bird for as short a time as possible, get it healthy, and get it back out into the wild.